Hey everyone, Mark Pfeiffer here, and in today's video I want to express the importance of tracking your expenses each month, making that a monthly habit that you do, and how that helps you to improve your financial situation. So right here I have a Google spreadsheet that lists all of my expenses over this year so far, and I'm going to go through and put in my October, because it's November right now. I'm going to put in October's expenses. So I will get on to my Bank of America uh, Bank of America account. I'll go scroll all the way back, start with October here, and then what I will do, I use dual screen, so I put this on one screen and have this on the other screen. I'll go in and I'll enter all of this information into this column. Now, just a few points I want to make before I input all of this information in there is that by inputting it yourself, it's better, in my opinion, because you are looking at each individual item and thinking about, was that really necessary expenditure that I paid for? And versus, for example, using a company called Mint.com, which will take all of your credit card expenses and put it into categories automatically. So that's one thing that I like. The other thing is that it doesn't take a whole lot of time. If you just set a certain amount of time, it takes for me, 10 minutes, 15 minutes to do this each month. It's just like checking your weight. You want to get an idea of where you are. So you step on the scale, see what your weight is, and then see how that compares to what your goal, ideal weight, physique is, and then you can bridge that gap. Alright, so let me put in these expenses. Alright, so I just entered everything into October, and then I can look at my total expenses. It gives me an idea of what the big fish items are. And looking at 2012, what I do here is I put in the average monthly that I've spent. The annual, I tally them all up using the summation formula, sum, parentheses, right there. Then I do average monthly, so I'm dividing that by 12. Then I do the percent of the total, so I can see then visually where my biggest expenses are. Right here it is food. Of course, I'm not including rent into this calculation right now. Then once you know what the biggest expenses are, you can then think about, well, how could I reduce that? Well, maybe with food, you're eating out a lot, and you could reduce it by purchasing your own groceries and making your own food. Of course, that would require you to spend more time preparing the food, so you'd have to kind of factor that in as well. So then looking at all of this, right here, I put together how most people allocate their earnings. Most people don't even save anything. Most people spend about 60% on their living expenses. Nothing on their future education. They'll spend 35% on recreation and 5% on life insurance. And how you do in the financial world is always in comparison to what other people are doing. So for example, if everyone lost a lot of money and you lost a little bit of money, you're better off than everyone else. So in the same way, by comparing yourself to the average, if you want to be above average, you just allocate more to savings, less to your living expenses, and then try to set those budgets for yourself, which would allow you to kind of hit those targets. So that's pretty much what I do at the end of each month. I also do this for our investment properties. I look at, which is really helpful because then you can look at, okay, biggest expenditures, are those really fixed costs, or can I reduce those in some way? So for example, and I'll post a video about this, I just recently reduced our insurance costs by about $6,400 a year total for our two properties, two duplexes, and our autos, and then our umbrella policy. And the way that I did that, I'll explain the next video that I post, but that is one example of looking at what are the big fish expenses and how can I reduce those. Most people will try to save money on the small things, which is, in my opinion, kind of a waste of time. You're much better off spending your time thinking about how you can reduce the big items that you're spending the most amount of money on. And in that way, you increase your bottom line, your cash flow. So I hope this has been helpful. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments below. Until next time.